This is ABC.
Tonight on KVUE-24, Congressman Mickey Leland is remembered by friends in Austin at a special memorial service. UT students are facing more money up front as they register for classes this fall, and we'll show you some back-to-nature family farming in Blanco County. KVUE-24 Action News at 10 is next.
Good evening. It's a deep loss that will no doubt be felt for a long time. Crews today recovered the remains of Congressman Mickey Leland and 15 others who died in a plane crash in Ethiopia.
Tonight, friends and admirers of Leland gathered in Austin to say goodbye. Our Keith Elkins has the story.
From the White House, across the deadly mountainous ravine in Africa to the Texas Hill Country, prayers continued for Congressman Mickey Leland and his traveling companions who died on a mission of mercy.
Mickey'd come a long way. He knew it. But Mickey was going a long way, too. In my judgment, Mickey Leland would have been a United States Senator from this state had he lived. But now that he's gone, I think we can give thanks to the Lord that he has meant so much to so many people who need the help. And Mickey was a friend who wanted to help people.
Members of the Congressional Black Caucus also traveled from Washington to extend official sympathies to the Leland family in seclusion at the Houstonian Hotel. But it was here in Austin, some say, a very special message was sent from above in the form of a rainbow. Hope that the social causes Mickey Leland lived and died for will never fade away.
Whether they were hopeless because they were simply hungry, that hope was spoken to, not just in Mickey Leland, but that hope was spoken to in that rainbow that we all met when we walked in this door. And as long as that hope of God's promise for our future survives in any good that you and I do, then Mickey will be with us as God's rainbow has been always.
Keith Elkins, KVUE-24 Action News.
The man accused of poisoning Austin's Treaty Oak has been indicted by a Travis County grand jury. Paul Stedman Cullen faces a second-degree felony charge of criminal mischief for willfully harming the historic tree. Damage to Treaty Oak is estimated at $20,000. The 45-year-old Elroy man has been in trouble with the law before. If his past is taken into account, the charge could be turned into a first-degree felony with a possible maximum sentence of life in prison. Due to the publicity surrounding this story, there's been talk of moving the trial to another city. State prosecutors say there's no need to do that.
I think Travis County is known for fair juries, for fair-minded people, and I think we could indeed have as fair a trial in this county as in any other county in Texas.
Cullen has been in jail since his arrest in June. He hasn't been able to post the $20,000 bond.
It's a statewide problem that affects virtually every local county jail: prison overcrowding. Because there is no room at state prisons, many local county jails have been forced to keep state prisoners until room becomes available. It's the same situation here in Travis County, where more than 480 state prisoners are being held. County officials say it's costing more than $22,000 a day to take care of those prisoners. Now there's a plan on the table to ask voters to approve $3.7 million for a jail expansion program at the county's Dale Valley facility. County officials say they don't have much choice.
The first responsibility of government is to provide for the security and protection of its citizens. And that is a basic expenditure which we have to make, and we have no choice. The jail population is growing, and we have to meet that financial crisis responsibly.
If commissioners decide to call the election, it would probably be held in November. Commissioners are also considering asking for $2.5 million for a new medical examiner's office.
Tomorrow, some 48,000 students will fully realize the changing cost of a college education. Tuition bills are due at the University of Texas. Now, most students are prepared for how much a semester's worth of learning will cost, but how soon the bulk of the money will have to be forked over is quite another matter. The story from Karen Sunlight.
This is one of the busiest hallways on campus. Those lining up here have a single purpose in mind, to hand over the money that will ensure their registration at the University of Texas at Austin still stands. Lots of students, though, are finding one important detail left out of their bills. You can no longer stretch out payments into 4 manageable checks. For in-state students used to the old installment plan, that means about $100 more up front.
My wife and I just got married, so of course that helped out a little bit. We did get a few presents, and if it hadn't been for that, it would have been pretty sticky.
In the past, 1 out of every 4 students here on the UT Austin campus regularly chose to go with an extended payment plan. But state law was changed, and now universities can demand 50% of all tuition costs up front. That change in policy at public colleges and universities was prompted by those who changed their minds about attending school after the deadline for refunds.
It was very difficult for the students to understand that they still owed the balance of those tuition fees even though they were leaving classes. By collecting more of the money up front, we hope to alleviate that situation.
But every action has a reaction. Those inheriting a cash flow problem are out-of-state students, like Lev Spiro, who pays about $1,800 in tuition for a 15-hour class load.
Well, it's a little bit more difficult to come up with that chunk of money right off the bat, but don't have much choice in the matter.
It's out of Spiro's hands, just like his check if he wants to attend fall classes. Karen Sunleitner, KVUE 24 Action News.
Tuition costs are on the rise again at UT, going from $16 up to $18 a semester hour. The last time tuition was increased there was 3 years ago.
The workers' compensation issue is at the heart of many of the conflicts at the state capitol. It's the reason lawmakers will likely be called back here in November. Now the group representing workers' compensation insurers is asking the state for more money. Today, group members requested a 34.9% rate hike. Though the industry has won rate hikes totaling 148% over the past 4 years, the National Council on Compensation Insurance says another escalation is needed to cover growing losses for what it calls an outdated delivery system.
Up next, Texas parents tell the president how the drug trade led to the death of their son.
For every drug user, there are victims and suffering.
That's what the parents of Mark Kilroy told President Bush at the White House today. Jim and Helen Kilroy were in Washington to discuss the drug problem with the president. Their son Mark, who attended the University of Texas here in Austin, was killed by a drug ring during spring break near Matamoros, Mexico. Since Mark's death, the Kilroys have taken their anti-drug message across the country. It's a message they say President Bush and drug czar William Bennett listened to today.
The government has to enforce the laws because right now people sell drugs, use drugs at will, and very seldom does anything happen to them.
Mrs. Kilroy praised the Bush administration for moving in the right direction in fighting the drug problem. But she says all of us are going to have to do our part to rid this country of this terrible crisis.
Another Texan was among the group invited to the White House to talk about the drug problems in our country. 21-year-old Bobby Hurt of Austin served on President Reagan's Committee for a Drug-Free America. And now President Bush and Bennett have called on him again to help with the effort to keep kids drug-free. Hurd says the strategy discussed today involves fighting the drug war from all sides.
The President and Director Bennett realized that this problem needs a very comprehensive approach, and not, prevention or treatment itself is going to solve the problem, not law enforcement and not just foreign policy.
Hurd oversees the youth division of Texas War on Drugs.
Austin police have run out of leads in the February murder of a Beaumont man who was visiting Austin. So tonight they're asking for your help in bringing the killer or killers to justice. Austin Police Officer Ron Blackmore has our Crime of the Week.
No one really knows why the victim came to Austin last February. In fact, little is known about the last hours of his life. He did go to this gay bar twice, once early in the evening before checking into a downtown hotel, then later around 9:30 or 10 that night. While there the second time, he met another man and struck up a conversation. Later, both men left together, leaving the establishment and apparently driving away in the victim's white Cadillac. Investigators speculate the two men drove around town for a while, but they don't know if the two men stopped anywhere, or even if the man seen leaving the bar with the victim is the suspect. What is known is that the victim And at least one other person ended up here, in the 4,000 block of Maplewood, just east of Interstate 35.
So you have a store in Beaumont. Well, I need some money.
Do it, man. Smoke him, man. Do it. Do it, man. Smoke him. You did it, man. Let's get the hell out of here.
The victim was seen by many people at the bar, but the last person he was seen with has not been identified. Investigators feel if we can identify some witnesses, we may be able to solve this crime. If you can help, give me a call. For the Austin Police Department, I'm Officer Ron Blackmore.
If you can help solve this crime, you could earn a $1,000 reward. Call Crime Stoppers at 472-TIPS or toll free throughout the state, 1-800-323-TIPS. All tips are kept strictly confidential. You don't have to reveal your identity.
The number of Republicans running for governor in Texas is up to 3 tonight. Texas Railroad Commissioner Kent Hans made it official at the state capitol today. He calls his campaign for the state's top job a new vision for Texas. That vision includes tax breaks for businesses, more local control of local school systems, and more prison space and courts for drug dealers. His vision also includes a constitutional amendment that requires a 2/3 vote in each house of the Texas legislature to approve any tax increase.
To the liberal special interest groups in this state, read my lips. No state income tax in Texas.
Kent Hans also says he is against abortion, except when a woman's life is at stake. Now, in our report at 6, we may have left you with the impression Hans is for abortions. In his speech today, he said he is pro-family, pro-life. Joining Hans in the battle for the Republican nomination for governor are ex-Secretary of State Jack Raines and businessman Clayton Williams.
Well, it wasn't much, but the rain that did fall in Austin today was a welcome relief. Up next, Troy will tell us if more is on the way.
Troy Kimmel's weathercast carries the seal of approval from the American Meteorological Society. Troy Kimmel, part of your 24 storm team.
Good and bad news. It rained in Austin today, but not in all parts of Austin.
That's right. You had to be lucky today. It was one of those little spots. I think it rained on top of this building.
A lot.
For a lot. It did.
Buckets.
In fact, I think, I'm sure we'll get other calls from other rain gauges, but we had better than a ½ inch here at the station today. Many areas of Austin, though, not getting that much, and perhaps some getting a little more than that. I went out to the house out northwest and only had a 1/10 of an inch out there. The National Weather Service about a 1/3 of an inch. And again, here at the TV station, between 55 and 60 hundredths, or a little over a ½ inch of rainfall. Much needed rainfall, I might point out. Across central Texas this evening, though, the clouds and the precipitation, for the most part, gone. I'll show you radar in just a second. I have to look at that. I can't figure out what that is. But anyway, that's a nice weather shot provided by our 24 photographers this evening. Okay. At 10 o'clock in the capital city, under a partly cloudy sky, the current temperature now holding at 77 degrees. Dew point at 73, so it's quite humid, 87%. Southeast at 7, and the pressure now rising 29.92 inches of mercury. And we'll have this figured out before the end of the weathercast. 96 degrees on the high temperature today, 74 the morning low. There's that 1/3 of an inch of rain. Again, at the National Weather Service office where you are, it may not have rained any, especially in some of the outlying areas today. And that helps us out. It brings our monthly total up, and also the yearly total surpasses 20 inches, effective with that rainfall today. As far as the area lakes are concerned, from the LCRA, Buchanan is down, Travis is down as well, and the water temperature to about 83 degrees. Sunrise tomorrow morning, 6:58, and sunset tomorrow evening occurs at 8:12. Now, let's take a look at the tropics this evening. We talk about plenty of thunderstorm activity. This has been rather persistent the last couple of days out over the areas of the Bahamas, eastern Bahamas. Really not especially well organized, but what is well organized this evening is this little tropical wave out here. There's a little evidence of a little southerly winds in the upper level of the atmosphere that may be prohibiting the system getting as well developed, but still a tropical depression may form there in the next couple of days. We will keep you advised. Here's national weather this evening, dominated by several reports of very strong winds and very big thunderstorms over portions of the northeastern U.S. One report of a tornado up in Maryland. There are reports of other high wind gusts in portions of Ohio and Pennsylvania this afternoon. Also, big thunderstorms in the western part of the state of Texas developed this evening. Had a couple reports of tornadoes in the Texas Panhandle. Funnel clouds were reported. Also, baseball-sized hail reported from Amarillo back down toward Lubbock this evening. Here's the latest satellite picture, and you see the very cold cloud tops indicating very strong updrafts and very strong thunderstorms in that part of the state this evening. 1 or 2 thunderstorms continue across portions of central Texas. We'll take a look at radar in just a second. But for the most part, our trigger for our precipitation today was daytime heating. That out of the way now, we will probably go into a pretty calm overnight period. 1 or 2 isolated thunderstorms once again developing for tomorrow. I want to show you the visual satellite because you can watch these thunderstorms as they develop around the Austin area late this afternoon. In the last shot as the sun was just going down, you can barely see some of those cloud tops just to the south of Austin. Now 24 color weather radar at this hour. Well, there was a light shower out here, and there may be something out there southeast of Junction right now, but I don't see it. A little ground clutter around the local site. Now the forecast for Austin overnight. I've removed the rain from the forecast. Partly cloudy skies, low of around 73 or 74 degrees. Then for tomorrow, 94, a 10% chance of afternoon thunderstorms. That's a gamble there, folks. I would not sit around and hold your breath waiting on those. And tomorrow night, we'll call for partly cloudy skies, warm and humid, low of 73. Extended forecast, there's a slight chance of thunderstorms each day, but once again, it only shows up at about a 10% chance. Partly cloudy, highs in the 90s, lows in the 70s. Okay.
We found out.
Okay, you did.
Reflection on a window of a Sonic drive-in. You should know that, Troy.
Never guessed that in a million years. Well, not too many people give up a successful business and take up farming these days. Up next, we'll introduce you to a family which has done that and how it may benefit us all. Just imagine a farm where weeds and produce grow side by side and the garden doesn't even have any rows.
That's the way a Blanco County family raises roughly 200 different kinds of fruits, nuts, grains, vegetables, and herbs. As our Allenberg reports, it's all part of their effort to live in harmony with nature.
I knew I was going to take over stewardship of this land, and so I tried to figure out what that meant and what to do about that, because he had been running it as a regular ranch for 30 years, and he lost money at that every year, and it just didn't seem like the right thing to do to me.
So Paul DuBose and his wife Patricia developed what they call a bioculture, a 6.5-acre natural nursery.
Big pumpkin right there.
DuBose made his mint in the floor covering business. When he sold his company and turned to farming, he and his wife decided to try something different.
We're trying to increase aliveness on a whole, and just increase aliveness. And by increasing aliveness, then we've got natural pest control, we've got food for us, we've got an increased biomass, and it all works.
Close examination of this apparently normal landscape reveals a hidden bounty. There are apples and pumpkins, even limes, all grown without pesticides, without cultivation.
And I was so sort of scared or disappointed that, well, you know, I spent a lot of money and a lot of time. Is what I'm doing right, or is it all total nonsense? And this is the first year that I said, oh man, it really worked.
The DuBoses aren't marketing any of their harvest, but they are marketing their ideas.
Well, I'm working on a 5-acre permaculture site near the Waldorf School in Austin.
Patricia DuBose designs environmentally compatible landscapes, another idea in its infancy.
And my goal is to have this hooked up like with a video camera, so I can go out to just Mary and Bob's house and photograph their place, put that on the computer and frame grab it, stop it wherever I want to, and then rework that image.
They also plan to expand their bioculture concept to include the entire 1,700-acre ranch, one step at a time.
We need to retain every drop of water as close to where it falls as possible. So we have a dam here, we have one here, we'll have to put one here.
So in the midst of mounting concern about the environment, this family has engineered its own response to a global problem. Allenberg, KVUE 24 Action News, Blanco County.
Some bad news for the San Francisco Giants.
And a sad night for one of their best pitchers.
You're right about that. We had a dramatic story with a certain San Francisco Giants pitcher, and it was dramatic again tonight. The San Francisco Giants beat the Montreal Expos 3-2 tonight, but more drama unfolded in the form of pitcher Dave Dravecky. Last week, he made a successful comeback in his first game since having cancer surgery on his left arm last year. Well, tonight, a very scary moment in the 6th inning when Dravecky let go with a wild pitch and fell to the ground. clutching his left arm. He got up on his own power, but was taken off the field on a stretcher and to the hospital. We've just found out that he fractured his left elbow, and he will be out for the rest of the season. Dravecky said that it was the weirdest pain he's ever felt. Dave Dravecky had been in the game long enough to get his second straight win. Matt Williams hit a 2-run homer to supply enough runs for San Francisco to get that win. The Houston Astros trying to remain 3 games behind San Francisco in the National League West. Tonight, the Astros opened a 3-game series against Pittsburgh. The Astros scored their first run in the bottom of the 3rd right here. Gerald Young with the single to left. Barry Bonds bobbled it. Bill Doran saw the bobble and trotted home. Young caught in a rundown between 1st and 2nd. That tied the game at 1. The Pirates were ahead in the 7th when Glenn Davis hit his 28th hit of the year. That's where it stands right now, tied at 2 in the top of the 9th inning. In other National League action, the Cubs beat the Reds 5-2 in 12 innings. Philadelphia down Los Angeles 7-6. The Mets with a 3-2 win over San Diego, and St. Louis down to Atlanta 9-1. In the American League, the Texas Rangers and Seattle Mariners scoreless in the 5th inning. Toronto beat Boston 7-2. Baltimore shut out Detroit on a 3-hitter. The Kansas City Royals with an 8-6 lead over the White Sox in the 8th. Milwaukee down the Yankees 1-0. Cleveland and Oakland tied at 1 in the 3rd inning, and Minnesota with a 2-1 lead over California in the 2nd inning. Well, today was holdout day at the Houston Oilers training camp down in San Marcos. Superstar holdouts Mike Rozier and Drew Hill paid a visit to their teammates. Running back Rozier and the Oilers still don't appear to be anywhere close to settling their differences, but receiver Drew Hill does. Terry Thomas has that story.
It was 2.5 weeks late, but Drew Hill finally made his appearance at training camp, and his teammates were happy to see him. Coach Jerry Glanville wouldn't comment on Hill's holdout, but said he's glad to have the team's leading receiver back and hopes he'll be in shape soon.
You don't know how long it's going to take for somebody to get where they got to be in playing speed, in hitting speed. But he's a guy that usually when we run our head start comes in surprisingly and moves on and motors right away.
Hill says he came to camp trying to show good faith, but ending his holdout was a tough decision.
My agent told me that I got a workable agreement, but what happens is I get out here and Lord forbid, I blow a knee or an ankle or something like that, then, what happens then. So that's the kind of thing that I was, not sure of.
Hill wouldn't say how much his new contract might pay, but it could put him in the top 10, possibly the top 5 highest paid receivers in the league. Hill will be in pads and on the practice field tomorrow morning. He hopes to have his contract signed by Friday, before the Oilers play Miami Saturday. Terry Thomas, KVUE 24 Action Sports, San Marcos.
The racing world was saddened today by the death of former NASCAR driver Tim Richmond. Richmond posted 13 wins on the NASCAR circuit. 3 years ago, he was hospitalized with pneumonia, but made a successful comeback in 1987 when he won a race in the Poconos. Richmond died today from complications caused by a motorcycle accident. Tim Richmond was 34 years old. Pro golfers around the nation were waiting today for the last 2 members of the U.S. Ryder Cup team to be announced. The lucky winners were Tom Watson and Lanny Watkins. They joined the other top 10 U.S. golfers on that team based on the point system. Austinite Tom Kite, also a member of the Ryder Cup team. The U.S. team will try to overcome back-to-back losses next month in England. And they want that trophy very much because they have been so used to winning everything that they want to get it back.
Got to get it back.
Got to.
Thank you, Hugh.
At the time, they were expecting hundreds and got almost 500,000. Today, they were expecting thousands and got hundreds. Up next, we'll relive the Summer of Love at Woodstock. 20 years ago today, promoters predicted only a few thousand people would show up for a special rock concert they were getting together.
But the music lovers came in droves. 400,000 people showed up to hear a variety of bands perform in a field in Bethel, New York. The festival was called Woodstock. It was 3 days of party, a 3-day party of free love, drugs, and rock and roll that helped define a generation. How many of those attending were called hippies or flower children at the time? Now, there were no special ceremonies to mark today's anniversary, but a few hundred people still showed up to share memories. Portions of the 30-acre dairy farm, the site of Woodstock, have been sold to developers since then. Most of the area is still a peaceful meadow marked by a single stone monument. And we have a trivia question for Hugh, because Judy already knows the answer.
Oh,
Who was the last artist to perform at Woodstock?
The last artist?
The last artist to perform at Woodstock.
Jimi Hendrix, because he played national anthem, right?
You got it.
I was there.
August 17th.
I'm one of the few people old enough to remember Woodstock.
Thanks for being with us. Good night.